My Phalaenopsis schilleriana that's in bloom finally. It's still got a couple of buds left, but this has been in spike for I believe over a year now. I'll put the date up on the screen because I can't remember, but the plant, I've had this plant since 2008. It was an unbloomed seedling, and it's bloomed, I think last time it bloomed was the best blooming. It had a nice sort of, I know this is kind of bright, but it had a nice kind of spike that came up, and it had a few branches, and it was really pretty. I'll put a photo up if I can figure out how to do that, because I think I've got a photo of it. So the spike comes out down here, and I had it staked to a long wire, and it came around and around, up this way and down this way, and then I'd wrapped it around a couple more times so it could be like, it wouldn't take up so much space. And then the spike grew into the lights somewhere, and it burned, and then it restarted. I think that must be back here somewhere. But then it branched, and then we've got both branches coming up and up and up, and I just attached it to the curtains with clothespins. But there's the flowers on one, and then it's got another little branch with 2 more buds. And then we've got this spike here. And, oh, I've got more buds down here too. Back there. So I cannot detect any fragrance from this whatsoever. It's, I don't know, I've tried it in the regular sunlight, and I've tried it in under artificial lights, and I read somebody's was fragrant at night, so I even checked it at night, and I can't get any fragrance off of it. I have read that some of them just don't have fragrance, but the last, what do I want to say? The last orchid show that I went to, there were some in bloom, and I could smell them, and it was a really nice fragrance. Not super strong, but it was nice. So this is a nice Phalaenopsis to have, and they do have really pretty leaves. Let me go back down here to the leaves. They've got spots and the purple, and they're kind of silvery, and the roots are really pretty and silvery and flat. And this leaf is so huge because this leaf was grown under lower light, so it got really big. It was grown at my aunt's house. I grow this under, well, not this time, but I generally have grown this for the whole life of the plant under 2 shop lights that were, one's a T12 and one's a T8, and they're both 4 feet long, and they both hold 2 bulbs. That's kind of, I guess, the minimum amount that you could get away with growing Phalaenopsis would be like a 4-foot 2 bulb shop light. That would do it, but the more the better. And oh, what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, the reason why this spike is so long and kept growing for so long is because this spike was grown for the most part under LEDs, and it's been really warm in that enclosure because it's all enclosed. It's in a house in my bedroom, so the temperatures never really go below 68. So the spike just kept thinking it was, or the plant just kept thinking it was time to spike and spike and spike. And finally it got so long, and I'm like, I'm going to lower the temperature on this. So I took it out of there and I put it back under regular shop lights, and then pretty soon it started making buds. Because it just didn't have the cool temperature that it needed for the buds to initiate. So don't grow these too warm. If they're growing their spikes really long and they're not making buds, try to drop the temperatures, because otherwise they'll end up like this. And this is not a good blooming. These plants can have a ton of flowers on long spikes, but they get longer and more floriferous if well grown each year as the plant gets stronger and older. But since so much energy was spent on growing these enormous spikes, it doesn't have very many buds. And I've thought about like putting it back underneath the LEDs in the warm and seeing if they'll grow, if they'll continue to grow. But I kind of don't think that'll happen. I might get more branches, but at this point, I just let this go because I wanted to see how long it could get. And I'm definitely going to cut the spike off pretty soon. I don't think I'm going to leave these flowers on, and because it's just so long. And then I'm going to let the plant recover. And these are generally summer blooming, I think. Or yeah, they bloom later than regular Phalaenopsis generally, but I don't know. It's a really pretty orchid, and if you can get a fragrant one, they have a nice fragrance. So I don't know. They're kind of slower growers than. Sorry, this is not just. I'm trying to get like nice pictures of the flowers. They're not hard to grow. They do grow slower than other Phalaenopsis seem to grow, but it's not really, I don't know, it's not bad. They're not super slow. And then, I don't know why I've got all these little ridges and all these ridges along the petals. That doesn't look good. That one's got a whole, like, little chunk out of it. Those ones look a little better. Yeah, so not a good blooming. I don't know, I kind of wish I would have just cut the spike off a while ago and then just let it start over. But yeah, sorry I don't have a very good camera or very good lighting. They look really washed out. I'll see if I can fix that on the finished video. And then I'll show you guys what this looks like wrapped up again, how I had it wrapped up, because I'm going to unhook this from the curtains now and wrap it back up so I can put it back under. Actually, I think I will. You know what? I'm going to put this back under the LEDs where it's warm and see if I can force the ends to grow some more flowers. And if I can, it'll just be a neat little experiment. If I can get more spike and more buds to grow, that'll be kind of cool, and then I'll make a video about that, or if not, then I'll make a video about that. But I have noticed that a lot of Phalaenopsis will continue to grow their spikes, and I have one. It usually happens in minis that branch, but they'll continue growing. The spike will keep growing and making more and more buds, and I had one stay in bloom with flowers on it for over a year and a half, and that little guy just eventually starts kind of looking a little bit yucky, and so I just cut the spike off, and then it blooms the next time it's going to bloom. So, okay, real quick, one thing I want to say about these is that they seem to really hate having their roots in a pot. They're very, very tolerant of low humidity. This thing's grown in like 25% humidity for years, and it's fine. The roots attach and grow all over the pot. I'd suggest not using clay unless you can drench with pure water, and you can use a lot of pure water to drench your pots every watering. I would not recommend using clay because the salts build up and that can damage the roots. But this one's been in this pot for quite a long time, and the roots have grown all around the whole top of the pot. Sorry, I've got all those little my twist ties in there, but you see how they're just all over? Phalaenopsis kind of have a reputation for not wanting to grow in darkness. I mean the roots in darkness, and so it'd probably be best to keep them in a clear pot or mount them, because and schilleriana kind of tips over to the side like this a lot anyways. So if it is feasible and easy for you to water them mounted, they can take pretty dry conditions. This goes bone dry between waterings, and it would be happier if I didn't, but it is very, very tolerant of my neglect. And if it was easy for me to water mounted orchids in my house, then I would mount this because it just doesn't like having its roots in the pot. Or I'd put it, I don't know, in a clay pot, or I mean a plastic pot. But I like my Phalaenopsis in clay pots because they don't tip over as easily when they're in spike. And, I don't know, it's just, it works out better for me, and they seem to tolerate the salt pretty well that does build up on the pots, because I am guilty of not drenching my pots enough with my water. So, the way that I used to have this growing was I had it in a clear saucer with a bit of moss, and then I put, shut up, oh, the cat is so annoying every time I film. I put some natural fiber, like grid netting over the top to hold the plant in, and then I glued that around the edges. Hang on, let me see if I can get, okay, I'm holding the light with one hand and the camera with the other. So I cut out a little space for the plant, and I made a circle, and then I hot glued it to the top of the pot, and so I could kind of hang it, and so it could be kind of mounted and kind of in a pot. And that worked pretty well. The roots seemed to stay in there pretty nicely, and since it was clear and shallow, the roots got some light, so it did okay in that. Watering it was not easy though, because of hanging, like how it was hanging, and then if I just put it flat on a shelf like that, it would kind of tip over a little bit. So watering that was not very easy, and that's why I put it in a regular pot after it was in the saucer for a few years. But the like mounting in a saucer is sort of a medium between mounting and potted, and this did well in that. So okay, I guess that's all I wanted to say about the roots. But yeah, these are easy for, they're more difficult than regular Phalaenopsis because they have more, I cannot talk today. They have more defined growth and blooming cycles, and so they're not as easy as regular Phalaenopsis, and they grow a little bit slower than, when I say regular Phalaenopsis, I mean like the complex hybrids you buy at the stores. But it is a very easy one, much more tolerant of underwatering than it is overwatering. And you might be able to even see, like, some of my roots are a little bit shriveled back there. No, of course that's not going to focus. It probably won't show up, but a few of the roots are a little bit shriveled and I need to water it more, but it's, it does well, it's easy, and that they're really pretty plants.